focus on hitting your goals in every area of your business. Remember, the universe rewards the bold. A leader has to take the risks.
Welcome to the Wealth on the Beach podcast. My name is Daniel Alonzo. It's episode number 59. And I have one of the greats of the greats. Hey, look, every week I bring to you the greatest minds, some of the most wealthy people in the world, and some of the greatest human beings in the world. And today we have one of all of the above. Incredible, up-and-coming, shining star. She is a regional vice president of a leading financial services firm. Vanessa, her background entails customer service. Her husband worked at a warehouse for 8 years. She was a college dropout. Her husband, Max, actually dropped out of high school. So most people would say, come on, these people are never going to be successful. They're just climbing almost to $350,000 a year. They're defying the odds of what is possible. She's a woman. She's a mother, she's a fighter, she's a doer. Please help me welcome the incredible Vanessa Solorzano. And so Vanessa, tell me, how does it feel to be one of the top woman leaders and leaders, period, in the entire company? How's that feel?
I mean, it feels incredible. It feels like I've always dreamt about this moment, about this time. I remember, we've been in business 10 years. And it's just a blink of an eye. Now we're here. I remember, walking into a meeting thinking, am I good enough? Am I even good? Is anybody even going to follow me? Able to, be successful in anything. So it feels incredible. I feel so blessed. I feel so grateful. And it's not just Max and I, it's actually, because we have an amazing team. So we just feel so blessed.
So Vanessa, tell us a little bit about your childhood. Where did you grow up? What did your parents do?
Okay, so my parents are immigrants from Mexico. They came to the United States. I was born in San Diego, but I was raised in Las Vegas, not in the best neighborhood. I grew up in I'm the smallest of 6. All my brothers and sisters, they were felons, drug addicts, had kids when they were 16 years old. Even at one point, we used to live in a 1-bedroom apartment. It was my mom, my dad, my sister, her 2 kids, my brother, his 2 kids, and myself in a 1-bedroom apartment. My parents never had a car. My parents literally lived the closest apartment to my school, so I wouldn't have to walk that far. So I never thought I would be successful. I wanted to be successful. That's why I went to college. I thought that college was the answer, but I didn't want to get into debt. My family didn't have any money for me to go to college, so that's the reason why I started working in customer service, because at that company, they used to pay for my classes if I did good in school. So it was not the ideal home that you would want to raise any kids, but I mean, I thank God that God gave me a different vision, a different mindset to say, hey, even though you grew up this way, it doesn't have to end this way.
So how did you turn out so differently? Like, how come you're not a felon and right now and like this, in jail or something like that?
Well, I know that you are who you hang out with, your environment. But one of the things I remember growing up in high school, looking at my brothers and sisters, looking at their lifestyle, looking how they were miserable, in my mind, I thought, okay, I have to do the opposite because if I do the same, then I would be ending up the same way they do. So even though I never had a role model, I just knew in my mind that if I did what they did, then I would end up having what they had, and I didn't want what they had. So I would say it was just a mindset, that decision, even though I wasn't in the right environment, to say, you know what, this is just temporary and I can get myself out of this.
And I'm curious, because obviously your parents, you love your parents and, you have a relationship with them. But I'm just curious, why is it that some people stay in that mentality? There's a lot of immigrants that come here to America, right? Which is the land of the free, the greatest country in the world. And why do you think some people stay in that mind frame of not getting a car or living apartment to apartment and things like that? Like, what did you see? Like, what kind of mistakes did you see that they might have made early on that kept them in bondage to, having less success than they probably could have?
I just think that because they grew up, back in Mexico where they had no education. Like they didn't even go to kindergarten, they didn't go to elementary, nothing. So I feel like when they came to the United States, they just felt that having a job was good enough. Like, okay, I'm doing better than I was in Mexico. So to them, they made it. They thought that was it, even though I'm sure they seen people with cars, they seen people with houses, but in their mind, I think that they settled because they were better off than they were when they first, came to the US.
So how old were you when you got into business?
I was 22 years old, so I was young. I was dating Max at the time. I didn't know nothing about nothing. I was actually very skeptical. Max was actually the one that joined before I did. I was like, no, this is not true. Like, you have to have a job. Like, this is the way to go. Like, they're brainwashing you. Like, I was negative Nancy to the second power. But what made me switch my mentality is his commitment. He literally showed up to every single meeting. Even though, like you mentioned, he's a high school dropout because he hates school. So when I found out there was Primerica school, I found out like, oh, he's going to quit. Like, he hates school. There's no way he's going to end up completing the class. Well, he failed school 3 times, failed state 5 times, and he never gave up. And that inspired me because I'm like, wow, he must see something that I don't see. And that's what made me believe because of his commitment.
Yeah, I've known you guys for such a long time. And I just, the first thought in my mind is standing in the back of the room, watching the op night with you guys in Las Vegas at Chris's office and just thinking, and I just know what you were thinking is like the whole time you're thinking, man, is this possible? Wouldn't it be awesome to be able to create a big team and to create a hierarchy and to start, becoming the top ranks of the entire company? Because I know you guys have always been dreamers and have always thought and dreamed of those possibilities because I've talked to you guys before. And it's like, how does that feel right now, knowing that you're like on the cusp? Like, you could be $1 million earner next year. I mean, literally, you could go from $350,000 to $1 million a year in 1 year. You have that possibility because you guys are doing so amazing right now. How does that feel?
It feels okay. So I've always dreamt about this, like you said. I've always thought about it. I've always had it in my vision board. I've always wrote my goals down, and I imagine what it would feel like. But what it actually feels like is 100 times better than what you can imagine. And I feel that looking back at what my thoughts and my mentality was, is that doubts and fear was still creeping. But now I've worked on my mind so much that I eliminate those doubts, those fears, because I know that God is bigger than any of those obstacles, that it's only in our mind. And I think what's helped is just reading. I'm obsessed and becoming better, scoping my mind. And it's literally like sickening of how obsessed I am of getting better, because I know in order for me to become that $1 million earner, I have to think differently. I always think, okay, if I want what you have, Daniel, or what Chris has, then I have to think like you guys do. So I haven't got myself there yet. So I know me imagining what is going to feel like to be $1 million earner, when I get there, is going to be 100 times better than what I can even imagine. Right.
And I think it's so cool that you've accepted the fact that, like, because I tell people all the time, look, you're not worth, I mean, I'm not talking about you, but I tell a lot of other people, like, you're not worth 100,000 yet. You're not worth 500,000 yet. You're not worth $1 million yet. Doesn't mean that you're a bad person, or you're not like a worthy person or anything, or you're dumb or something like that, or I'm better than you. It just means that your mindset has not, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's so many people out there that if they just change their mindset, they could become worth so much more. What do you think about that? Does that make sense?
It makes 100% sense, because I always think if I thought like you, if I thought like Chris, I already be there. So obviously my mindset is not there yet. So that's why I'm not earning $1 million yet. So thinking about the income that I make now versus me making, 5 years ago, I wasn't even making 100,000. It makes me sick to my stomach to think that I thought I was worthy of 350, because I wasn't getting better. I wasn't, the mindset that I have now. So I think that if people all the time ask me like, okay, what has changed, between then and now? Because I've been in business 10 years, so I'm not an overnight success. And what has changed is my mentality. I know people want a different answer. They want the secret. They want what presentation I'm using, but that's not it. It's just a mindset.
So give me a couple of examples, like the mistakes that you made before and that switch in mindset. Give me a couple examples of that.
For example, one of the things that I do now, anytime I have a negative thought, I replace it with a positive thought. Or before, I would let a negative thought ponder in my mind and let it grow. And is adding like fuel to the fire, and it worsen the situation. I always tell our team, it's not what happens to you that matters, it's how you react that really matters. And that's one of the biggest examples I can think of.
And so because you're recruiting a lot of people right now, you're bringing a lot of people in your business more than ever. Your production is through the roof right now. So tell me, like, what are some of the mistakes that you see that people are making, like the newer people or even people that have been around a little while? What are some of the mistakes they're making?
I think they beat themselves up too much. Obviously we're our worst critics, right? But it's okay to be critical of yourself, because you should recognize where you're at, but not dwell on that. I always tell our team, look, we're like a machine. And if it's like a computer, if you ask the computer what's wrong, it's going to look for all the things that's wrong. So I always tell our team, don't ask yourself what's wrong with you. Ask yourself, how can you get better? So I think the quality of questions you ask yourselves has a lot to do with it. And I think that early on, one of the biggest mistakes, I would always think like, what's wrong with me? Like, it's me. I mean, it is me, but I was asking the wrong question. So then my brain was looking for things that were wrong with me. So I would acknowledge those things instead of what can I get better? What can I improve on? What could I have done differently?
Like what's the solution? Instead of looking for the problem, like, what's the solution? How do I get better? How do I make this situation like I want it to be, versus, going in the negative direction, like, of course, 99% of the people do. And so, I mean, was there, like, looking back, what are some of those dark moments? We all have them. I remember, driving home one night and it was raining and I didn't close, and I was just like thinking, what am I doing? Am I wasting my time? Am I good enough for this? Can I ever get great at this thing? And I had those fears and I had those doubts. Tell us a little bit about maybe some of the dark moments in your life and some challenges that you had growing in business and how you overcame them.
I remember when I was a brand new RVP, you get excited. You're like, man, this is exactly what I've been praying for. And we had 3 regional leader teams quit and a division team quit all at the same time. I was charged back about $5,000. I was so embarrassed because I was thinking, okay, in my mind, as an RVP, minimum, you should make it 100,000. So being in that dark moment, I remember not letting my team see it, but I would come home and cry to Max. I'm like, man, like, is this really happening? Like, wait, like, this is not what's supposed to happen. And so then I decided, I said, you know what? I said, okay, if they're not part of our team, that means they were never really part of us. I just got to get better as a leader. So I remember gathering some people up. I said, you know what, let's go prospecting. Let's go meet new people, right? So we had gone to go meet new people. And when I was there, my upline, Miguel, called me. And he called me and he's like, hey, champ, like, is everything okay? I see you haven't made any money. And in my mind, I was like, I know I'm not making any money. Stop reminding me. Like, I was just trying to get out of this mindset, right? But he didn't know this, right? He was just being a good leader and asking, like, if there's any way he can help. So I said, you know what, I got this. So then I hung up and I told the girls, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go into this store and, meet someone. But the reality is that I wanted to get away from them because I just started bawling, like crying. I was like, God, I'm like, please, like, tell me something. I'm not about signs, but I'm like, God, I need something. I need confirmation. This is where you want me to be. And literally, as I got up to wipe my tears off my face, I hear the song playing, and it was Don't Worry About a Thing, Everything's Gonna Be All Right. And I just started bawling of happiness. And I was like, thank you, God. Like, okay, everything's gonna be okay. I'm like, sometimes the worst thing that happened to us is the best thing that happens to us.
God, you just gave me like the chills on my neck right now when you said that.
I remember like it was yesterday.
Oh my God, you are so inspiring. Hey, look, I know you're recruiting a lot of women right now, man. I mean, how important is it? Like how awesome are women in financial services? I mean, they freaking kick ass, man. They're pretty awesome. So tell me about how you're recruiting all these women and, what your focus is right now.
Okay, so I remember when I first joined Primerica, which was 10 years ago, under Chris Howard, it was the office was dominated by male. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm 22, I look like I'm 13, I'm a woman. I'm like, I don't know if I fit in this office. And I remember Miguel would always work on my mind. He's like, no, Vanessa. He's like, I don't care if you look 12. I don't care if you're a girl. I don't care. When you open your mouth, you need to know that you mean business. I'm like, okay. So I worked on me being confident that no matter what I look like, that as soon as I opened my mouth, that the person across from me knew I meant business. So then, okay, I started succeeding, becoming one of the women in our office. And then I started recruiting a bunch of women. And the reason why I think women are important in our business is because we're more emotional. We're more connected as far as we can talk to the wife or even to a husband, like saying, hey, look, it's okay. I'm a mom too. I'm a wife. I do everything plus this. I remember when I was pregnant with my first child, because I have two little ones. I have a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I never use them as the excuse why I'm not winning. I'm using them as the reason why I am winning. But when I was pregnant, I was 8 months pregnant. This is the most I ever wrote in personal premium. I wrote about $17,000 in personal premium. But that's not including all the policies I split with people that were licensed. So in reality, I wrote $24,000 in personal premium and 8 months pregnant. And people are like, how did you do it? I'm like, I wasn't pregnant. That not a disability, is a blessing. I'm not sick. I need to work harder because there's a baby coming out. And so I feel like because I did it first, then I can talk about it to another woman. Because, imagine if there's a woman in our team and they're having a baby and they're using that as an excuse, then I can be like, guess what? Nope. I had a baby too. I was pregnant and I still went on appointments, and it's just awesome. I feel like if you do it first, then you'll attract other people. John Maxwell always says, you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are.
Love that. Oh man, that's so incredible. I mean, you are an inspiration to so many women right now. I mean, tens of thousands of women, they got their eyeballs on you and they're watching you. Do you feel a little bit of pressure? Like, do you feel a little bit of like, man, I got to keep going. I got to keep this thing moving. I mean, what does that feel like?
Well, Miguel has always taught me how to work under pressure,
okay,
which is
right.
good. I mean, before this business, I was never in sports. I never knew what coaching was. I didn't like people telling me what to do, but I'm so grateful for Miguel and Susie because they taught me how to be mentally tough. So I feel like if I don't give any excuses, then I won't take any excuses. So I yes, it does feel pressure because I know that other women are looking at me, but it's an honor. I feel so incredibly blessed. Like, wow, like me, somebody that grew up with nothing, that sometimes I didn't even have money to eat. Like, I mean, it's like literally I pinch myself and like, God, this is my life. Like, this is, wow. Like, I feel so grateful. And I read in a book, the way you help the poor is that you were poor and you become rich, and then you teach them how to become rich. It's not giving them money. Not that you don't give them money, because you do, but what I'm trying to say, that's the true way to helping somebody, is finding somebody else like me, broken home, big family, no money, grew up like in the ghetto, and telling them, hey, I grew up just like you. Give me your hand. Let me help you. Let me show you how to get there. So I feel honored that people look up to me.
Well, a lot of people look up to you, and you and Max are incredible leaders. And for me, I just feel such a sense of like, I'm so proud of you guys, because I've known you for so long, and I saw you in those moments. I mean, you know how many times I went out and spoke for Chris in Las Vegas, a lot of times. And you know, Chris is one of my favorite people in the world. And of course, Miguel and Susie are incredible leaders. And so for me, it's fun and it's exciting for me to watch people emerge. And so like because I mean, you're in a business that is really creating massive amounts of passive residual income in your life right now. I mean, you guys are making money every day. I mean, every day money is coming in, whether you work or you don't work, money is coming in, and it's an incredible feeling. But, you know, I mean, looking long range, how important is building passive income? How important is building that income that never stops for moms and dads out there?
I feel that is biblical, because the Bible talks about how you're supposed to leave an inheritance for your children's children. So I feel that it's an obligation. It's our responsibility to create wealth for our families.
Well, that is fantastic. I mean, you know, being a role model is important, but man, tell me about your kids, and like, how important is it for you to win so that your kids can see you win? Is that important as a mom?
Oh, it's incredibly important, because, you know, I mean, my kids are little right now, you know, 3 and 2, and they really don't understand, but I know one day they're going to understand. They're going to say, wow, my mom and dad worked so hard for us to live this incredible life. And I want to set that example, because just like in the business, you want to be that example to teach it. You don't want to be the example why they don't want to do it. I want to be the example why they do want to succeed in life. And, you know, I always talk about, you know, you're supposed to leave a legacy for your family. Well, imagine if we grow this business to a multi-million-dollar company, which I have no doubt that we will. Now our children's job is to turn it into a multi-billion-dollar company. So it's just leaving that generation wealth.
You just created a whole new generation of successful people. I mean, think about it, right? You came from nothing. You're building something so incredible. You're inspiring the world. And look, I mean, you know, as far as like, I mean, what keeps, or no, this is what I wanted to ask you. What are a couple of tips that you could give us that we're just trying to get this thing moving? Some fundamentals that, you know, that if you're talking to me and I'm your downline, let's just say I'm one of your recruits, what are a couple of tips that I need to do so I can spike my recruiting? I want to get my recruiting going right now. What's a couple of things that you would tell me?
Well, I always talk to our team, you know, about attitude and activity. I think that is the determination and the deal breaker in our business, because if your attitude is not up, then your activity won't be up. And if your activity won't be up, then how's your attitude? So I feel like if you are trying to get this business going, the reason why you have doubts, the reason why you have fear, the reason why you're not excited anymore is because you don't have activity. But if you had activity, if you were closing, recruiting, guess how your attitude would be? Up to the roof. I mean, you would be excited, but guess what? A winner stays excited all the time. So you cannot gain that activity without having the right attitude. So what I mean by that is that even if you don't have it going, you have to be happy, you have to be excited, you have to be grateful, because if you're not, then you'll never get that momentum, you'll never get those recruits, you'll never get those clients, because if you don't appreciate where you're at now, or already imagine what it's going to feel like when you have that momentum. You know, momentum is a best friend to a leader. You know, I always use the example about John Maxwell. I love that guy, right? he talks about how a train, if it's going 1,000 miles an hour, it can go through like a 5-foot wide, brick wall. But that same train, if it has no momentum and is stopped, even a little like block can stop it. So the same train that could go through a 5-foot wall is stopped by this little block because it has no momentum. But in order for you to build that momentum, you got to be excited. Art Williams always talks about how a winner stays excited all the time. It's easy to be excited when things are going your way, but what about when things are not going your way? How's your attitude then?
Oh man, oh, that's huge. That is so huge. Because look, I mean, we all are going to go through challenges. It's not going to be overnight. There are no get rich quick schemes. Anybody tell you that they're going to get you into a get rich quick scheme? It's bullshit. Run the other way, go somewhere else. It ain't possible. It ain't going to happen. And so, look, I mean, I just think that you are a student of business. You're a student of winning. You're a student of success. And if there's any advice that we could give anybody out there is practice. Become a student. Hang around successful people. Read good books. I mean, think about it. You've read all these books by John Maxwell, and of course, a lot of other books as well. But think about it. That's like being friends with John Maxwell. That's like having a relationship with John Maxwell. I mean, this has been so valuable. All of your insight, all of your thinking to so many people that are listening right now, that are listening to this podcast right now, they are saying, man, I'd love to go into business with her. All right, Vanessa, tell us how to get a hold of you. If somebody's thinking, man, I want to, because you're in Las Vegas and they're in Nevada or they're anywhere in the world, they're like, I want to know her. I want to learn from her. I want to get in touch with her and have a conversation with her. How do they get a hold of you?
I do have Instagram. My name on Instagram is V as in Victor, E as in Edward, E as in Edward. My last name, Solorzano, Solorzano. And I don't have Facebook, but I do have Instagram. So it's at V Solorzano.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I know that you're going to get some calls because people, they want to be around winners. And if you can rise them up, if you can pick them up and push them up, you could literally change so many people's lives. Hey, look, last couple of questions. What's your favorite book?
Oh man, there's so many, but I will say that the first book I ever read, because in the beginning I used to not read, and that was my problem. The solution was reading, but it's Outwitting the Devil. That literally changed my mentality. Like it shook my head and put it back.
Love that book. One of my favorites too. Friend of mine, Sharon Lecter, wrote that. Favorite movie?
Oh man, I love funny movies. I'm trying to think. And to be honest with you, I have not watched a movie in such a long time because,
you're working.
Exactly.
You're on it, man. You're on it.
I can't even think of one, to be honest.
Favorite food?
Tacos.
All right. Ice cream.
Food,
okay, go.
Snack. I love hot Cheetos. Anybody that knows me, like my team for my birthday gave me a bunch of bags of hot Cheetos.
I love it. Ice cream or cake?
Vanilla.
Oh, I love it.
Ice cream.
Well, all I know is, Vanessa, you are, one of the most incredible, this has been one of the most fun podcasts, one of the most incredible guests that we've ever had. And I appreciate your time so much. And I thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes out of your day to share, because what you just did right now is you just gave a lot of people hope that anything is possible. And I want everybody that is listening right now to go make sure that you follow Vanessa and on Instagram and start a conversation with her. She wants to talk to you. She'll answer your questions. If you need help, there's something she could do for you, she'll help you. And make sure that you also follow Wealth on the Beach, the podcast, subscribe to it, and follow me on Instagram as well. Just want to let everybody know we're signing people up every day for Wealth on the Beach Club. It's 1 full hour with me, lessons and Q&A. Check out alonzoacademy.com for all the details, as well as YouTube for lots and lots of free content. As always, I want you to dream bigger than ever. but make sure that you do it now. God bless you. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.